Okay, this is the Schmidtski again. It's been a while since we've done any videos on anything. This time, I'm going to give you a little channel update. Of course, new name, new stuff going on. I've noticed that a lot of the tech videos, informative videos, have been really the most popular. So, that's going to be what I do the most of, and really, being a nerd, that's what I'm good at. I've been playing with technology probably since 1991-ish, in the old DOS days. I think I started on a Tandy 1000 or a 2000. It's hard to remember, and that machine has sadly long since disappeared. The thing is, we will be doing more tech videos, tech tidbit videos. Tonight's tech tidbit is installing Mac OSX Snow Leopard on a VirtualBox in Linux Mint. I acquired this copy, and that's probably where I'm going to leave it for now. I've acquired it. And, excuse me, it's a 4.7 gigabyte ISO. A lot of what I do in my regular life, I think, would translate well to videos, repurposing technology. I'm a firm believer in working with what you have, and what I have isn't a lot, but it does work. Hardware, for example, my machine is an old gateway machine that's been hacked together and slapped together. New power supply. It's a 500 watt power supply. Got a nice AMD 6870. I always get this wrong, but I do believe it's an AMD's Radeon 6870. It does what I need it to do. Do have a nice Samsung 128 gig SSD. It's a Core i3. It is a first generation, the 530, but again, it does what it needs to. Got a DDR3, 6 gigabytes, an odd number, I know, but that's what I've got. And I'm a big fan. It's plugged into a television. Actually, two monitors, a regular ViewSonic and a 10x9, and a Samsung, I'm going to call this a 30-inch, 32-inch television. Everything looks great, though, as you can see. I'm going to do a few retro gaming videos, too. I do have some older hardware. I think I have an old AST Advantage. I'm thinking it's a Pentium machine, or maybe it's a 486. Not real sure on that. We'll deal with that another time. I'd like to make my next video on that, turning it into a DOS machine to play some retro games. A few underrated games, which is another angle I'm going to cover. A lot of underrated things on this channel. Underrated games, shows, movies, whatever. I'm toying with the idea of accepting hardware sent to me to be repurposed from many fans, viewers, because I've found that that can be very interesting, and I'm all about kludging things together. In this channel, you probably won't be seeing much of me personally. I'm just not a big fan of getting in front of the camera per se, and I haven't cut my hair in a while. It looks like a dog's ass. I'm not gonna hurt people by making them look at me while we do things. So, anyway, without further ado, we're going to get Mac OSX Snow Leopard 10.6.1. That's very specific on a VirtualBox in Linux Mint. Without further ado, we already have Oracle's VirtualBox right here in front of us. And going to start a new one, of course. I think it's best to be pretty specific with the naming. This is a 64-bit version. Picked her up right away. Now, I generally I take the defaults that VirtualBox give me. In this case, 2 gigabytes of RAM, that looks fine to me. In fact, anything less, I would probably bump it up. And if I'm not mistaken, I've done this before to some degree of success, and it seems like I remember them trying to push me in the 1 gig or even 512 direction. I'm not sure, it might have been 1 gig. Anyway, last time I bumped it up to 2 if I'm not mistaken, and it seems to remember that setting. So we're going to roll with that. We are going to create a virtual hard disk. Now, I used to be a stickler. VDI is fine. I used to be a stickler for the fixed size, but I'm limited on space. I want to run this off of the SSD nice and fast. So we'll go with dynamically allocated. That way it expands when we need the space. We don't need it, it's going to stay at a smaller fixed size. Works best for folks like me that are in kind of a pinch with hardware. Uh, 20 gigabytes for the purposes that I would use it for. 20 gigabytes is fine. I don't plan on doing much. I've never owned Mac, Apple hardware. I think the closest I came is when I bought my ex-wife an iPod. So we're putting this on here more or less. I just want to get a kind of a feel for Macintosh and its operating system, because really, when you look at their computers, the desktops, the MacBooks, any of that, I don't want to say garbage, any of those things, the hardware these days, it used to be, I think they went with PowerPC processors. Now it's Intel hardware. The only difference really is the software, and of course Mac OSX is a flavor of Linux, really. It's based on Linux. Some of the commands you'll use in a terminal, or whatever Mac's version of a terminal is, will be Linux commands. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and create that hard drive. And you can always go through. Video memory is 9 megabytes. Now, generally, I would change that. Last time I changed it, and after that, it was bricked. I could not reboot back into it. Had 2 successful boots into the operating system after changing some settings, one of which being video memory. It was useless. It would not boot. So I'm going to stay away from that. Same with all these other settings here. I'm just going to leave them at their defaults, because it seemed to work out pretty well when I didn't screw with it. We're going to go ahead and start it. And of course everything wants to go to the monitor that isn't being used. Now I've got a copy of this. Oddly enough, it went directly to where I had it last time. However, I like to keep things nice and organized, or, well, as you can see, not quite organized, but close enough for government work. I've got Mavericks. That never worked, ever, for any reason, and I don't know why. It seems to be very finicky. There's a lion. What we want is right here, Snow Leopard. Let's open that and start it. And here we go. It's starting to load up for us. Once it gets to the section where we choose a hard drive to install on, we will see where my problems came into play. Now, as you can see, this window is bigger than one can see at one time here on the screen. We're gonna go on with English, since that is my language of choice. Now, choose a disk to install to. That sounds great to me. You continue. And yes, Intel and AMD, I agree. Problem is, here's where I got to before and had trouble. No hard disk to install to. Why is that? I don't see any way to fix this. I can go back. That does me no good. I can continue. Still no hard disk. Well, once I finally decided to scroll up, I found this wonderful screen here, this wonderful set of options here. Utilities. Well, let's start the disk utility and see what's going on. Look, There's our 20 gig VirtualBox hard disk. Odd. So, if we're having trouble with the selected disk, we can click to repair it. And of course, we don't have that option right now. How about we do some partitioning? I would like one partition. As far as I know, I know for Linux, I generally need two partitions. One for the file system, the root partition, and then a swap partition. Mac, I don't think is that picky if I remember correctly. It's odd to me, but let's go ahead and apply this one partition scheme. I'm okay with removing that volume and writing over it. This may take a moment. Not too awfully long, though. Alright, I certainly don't want to be involved in any raid at this point. Don't get me started on raid. Alright, we got this disk. Let's verify it. Let's see if it's any good. The volume appears to be okay. Well, that sounds like a winner to me. So, now that we've got that accomplished, let's exit this. And there's our hard disk right there to install to. Beautiful. So, without further ado, we will install to our new hard disk. Volume 1. Excellent. Install. Alright, and we're going to skip the check for consistency. This is not on the DVD. I know this is good. I've used it before. The only thing I've done since then is copy it to a different location, and for the sake of organization. And through the sorcery of technology, we're near the end of installing the actual operating system files. As you can see, just a little tidbit more. Come on, about a minute it says left. We'll see about that. And it's worth noting that Mac OSX is one of these operating systems that you can auto-capture, or that will auto-capture the mouse and keyboard. That's very handy. I've noticed a lot of older Windows installs are unable to do that, although newer ones, I will admit, are very capable. I've got a feeling you folks out there are going to be seeing a lot of jump cuts with this. We're going to go ahead and restart it right now. And I always, invariably get some odd messages from OSX when booting, rebooting, shutting down. It is kind of disconcerting, I will admit, but I do believe we have successfully installed this, and it will boot up just fine with our default settings. Alright, it's booting up, it would appear. Slowly but surely. And I'm going to scroll down because I do know what to look for when I had some real problems with this that were just, it was insufferable, I gotta tell you. There's a lot here that I'm very unsure of, I will admit. I think it's a good thing to know what you don't know. And I don't know a lot about Mac. Know a little about Linux and a bit about Windows, but Mac. Alright, and here we are. I don't understand what the problem was last time. We got some rockin' ass music going on to welcome us to the world of Mac OSX. United States will be fine. US. I don't wish for it to transfer anything from anywhere in any way. That's some funky jams. That's my jam right there. Please don't hang on something this silly. Please don't. Again, through the power of technology and its sorcery, We've skipped the boring part where I got the beach ball of death and had to wait an additional 1 or 2 or hell 3 minutes. Here I am at my internet connection information. I will just continue. There's nothing there that I will continue with this as well because it is an option. If you don't have an Apple ID, just hit continue. I'm not connected to the internet right now. I've had some trouble. I live in a rural area, so the best I can get where I'm at, even though it's not as rural as maybe the boonies or something, I am in the city limits of a moderately small town. 8,000 people, I think, at last count. Not real sure on that, but I am within the city limits, and yet the best internet speed I can get, broadband wise, without losing an arm, leg, or ass, is 1.5 megabits per second. Oh, a lot of times I will have to use my phone's 4G functionalities with the little program I'd like to give props to called Easy Tether Pro. Best $9.99 I've spent in my entire life to tether my prepaid phone service. I get 10 gigabytes a month if I pay enough, and 4G speed. It's the only way I can get these videos uploaded to YouTube and do any amount of reasonable downloading and video watching. It's just the only way to do it with this connectivity that I have at my home. So anyway, we're going to continue. I really hate these sorts of things. I'm just going to be pretty vague. I'd rather not give my address. I will go ahead and just give my city. What the hell? It's annoying. Seems like most companies these days want to get as much information about you as humanly possible, and then a little bit further than that. I am not giving them any of that. Oh, for God's sakes. There we go, continue. I will give it a password. And this is generally what I say to any hints. If you don't know it, fuck you. And it's creating my account. That's mighty generous of them. I would go to full screen, but I'm not sure how that would work out. The recording and everything else that's happening, so we're just going to stick with what we got. Now, for recording, I do like this program, Kazam. Great screen capture, screen casting software. It's what I have used pretty much the entirety of my YouTube career, if you want to call it that. I'd like it to be a career. Nashville, I've got family there. We'll run with that. I think we're done there. So without further ado, we're going to hopefully get a desktop. Beautiful background there. Snow leopard. Of course, that's... Oh, this is irritating. This happened last time as well. Continue. Press the key immediately to the right of the shift key on the left side. Well, that looks to be a Z in my case. Done. Now press the key immediately to the left of the shift key on the right side of the keyboard that can't be identified, which appears to be a question mark and slash, / even. And Z is good. Alright, what have we got? No drives there. And we're at our desktop. It looks pretty. Very pretty. I believe Mac is known for their pretty desktop. 2:10 a.m. That appears to be correct. And from what I can see, let's see what's going on about this Mac. 2.9 gigahertz. Unknown. It's a Core i3. How's that unknown? Well, we are going through VirtualBox. 2 gigabytes of DDR3. Alright, well, what about more info? What have we got? Ah, now this is what I'm talking about. Alright, well, looks like everything's here. So, really, I think that's all we're going to do this evening. Please go away. Okay, there we go. I'm not quite used to the way things work here. I got our little dock down here at the bottom with binder and dashboard. I've seen dashboard, yeah. This looks interesting. You know what? We've got to go full screen. Yes. Alright, there we go, folks. I hope you can still see me. Or see what's going on. This is a very pretty desktop. That's a right click there. What else have we got here? Might as well. That is the same settings icon that I have in my Linux Mint distribution. I've got to give Linux Mint props for making a proper version of Linux. I used Mandrake Linux many years ago, well, 2005, 2004-ish. Used it for quite a while, mostly enjoyed it, but there were a lot of things that I couldn't do, and because of that, I just had to give it up for a few years. But about 4 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago, I started using Linux again, and it's matured a lot. It's ready for the desktop, as they say. Very ready. And that looks pretty cool. Alright, let's stick with that. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to click the like button or smash it or whatever the hell people tell you to do with it. Just don't do anything lame with it. Or if you didn't like it, unlike button, dislike, not liking, opposite of like, whatever that is, comment. I'd love to hear about any ideas you folks have. Like I said, I like to repurpose a lot of electronics. I got an upcoming video about the DOS machine gonna create. There's 2 different towers I have at my disposal right now that I can probably use for that. Very old. They both have 3.5 floppy disk drives, and I still have floppy disks sitting around here somewhere. I even have 5.25-inch floppy disks. The big ones, the real floppy disk. I plan on doing a video about repurposing old Android phones. They make great security cameras with the right software. Like I said, just give us a holler in the comments section, and hang in there. We'll see you in the next video.